Let's start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start, so I'm told. By who says that?
I believe her name is Maria.
How do you solve a problem like Maria?
Hey guys.
Hey guys.
I'm the Berk and I do things. And if you hear background noise, you probably do.
You made it to the right video.
Everyone sort of wanted a birth story video, so we're going to share our experience. This might not be the most high energy video. We do have a
I'll just keep poking you.
2.5 week old. So I saved.
She's 2.5 already?
2.5 weeks. I save my energy for her. So if you guys want to hear about the birth of Phoebe.
What is the background noise?
We have a sound machine and a baby and cats.
Yes, a lot of cats.
So, like I said, if you guys want to hear the birth story and I guess a little bit about everything, I also have some questions you guys asked to answer. Yeah, so if you want to hear all that, keep on watching. Let's go.
Oh my god, it's been so long I don't even know which way to go.
Okay, so we took notes because, let's just put it this way, last night I turned on the washing machine and for about 2 minutes forgot to add detergent. So that's where my brain is right now mentally. So we took some notes. So I'm sure a lot of you guys are wondering kind of what has been going on because the last time I vlogged anything was on Christmas. So as of Christmas, we did not know when Phoebe was coming. So a lot has changed since Christmas, which I didn't intentionally mean for Christmas to be the last vlog, but like after Christmas, I just checked out and I needed a break, a little bit of a break. And honestly, we did not know Phoebe was coming on the 4th at that point. Like we thought we had an extra week, but we'll get into that now.
Let's get into that.
I'm gonna be looking down a lot to make sure I don't forget anything, but my last doctor's appointment was on New Year's Eve during the day. So the 31st of December, the last day of 2020. My doctor had decided that he wanted to do my very last ultrasound to see if I still had placenta previa. Since I was in the doctor's office and not in the hospital at prenatal testing, I was able to FaceTime Scott for this specific ultrasound. So this was the first time Scott actually got to unofficially meet the doctor. You know, 3 days before the baby was coming. And we saw that the placenta had not moved, so that confirmed that I was going to need a C-section officially. And it was a Thursday, and Scott made a joke. Do you want to say your joke you made to the doctor?
He said,
Coffee.
we need... What?
I was just saying coffee.
He didn't say coffee. He said, alright, let's schedule a C-section. Let me take a look at my calendar. And I said, we're free tomorrow. But
he said it was too early, and we were under the impression that they were going to do the C-section the week of the 11th because that's kind of preemptively what we had been told. But the doctor said we like to wait for about 38 weeks to be able to do the C-section. So how about Monday? I had a mask on, so no one could see this. But Scott and I made eyes at each other in the FaceTime camera, and we were like, yeah, let's get her out.
Let's do it.
So we had like a list of like chores left we had to do around the house, and we had them stretched over the next like week to get done. So we kind of had to jam pack them into that weekend to get all the last things done because it was Thursday morning and I had an appointment to have a baby pulled out 7 a.m. on Monday. So that's how the whole Phoebe coming early thing started out. So we did clean that whole weekend a lot. Everyone, well, yeah, I mean, we told most people that we're close with, so everyone was really excited. So I guess now we can fast forward to Monday?
Yeah.
All right.
The weekend was boring.
The weekend was just a very productive time for sure. So we woke up early on Monday. I definitely did not sleep until my alarm. So one of the hardest things going into that night was I was going to have to start fasting at midnight, which meant no eating or drinking, which also meant no Tums after midnight. And that was something I thought was gonna be a lot harder than it was. But I managed to make it through that night pretty easily without the Tums, but the no drinking killed me. My throat was so dry. I was parched, to say the least.
I was gonna say, you haven't had Tums since then, but you've had water since then.
True. We left our house around 5:30 a.m. because they told us to be at the hospital by 6 for a 7 a.m. C-section. We got to the hospital right before 6. We basically walked in, they take your temperature. We took the elevator, walked all the way to labor and delivery, and we walked into labor and delivery. They took us right into a room. They were like, here's your gown, get into your gown. I changed. As soon as I was in my gown, they were already doing my COVID rapid test. They put my IV in. So they gave me Tylenol, and I was really glad about that because I was nervous about not having coffee in the morning and then winding up with a coffee headache when I came out of surgery. I don't know why, but that was a concern. So they gave me Tylenol, which I was allowed to take with a sip of water. So my quench of thirst was not quenched. Is that the right wording?
Your thirst was not quite quenched.
Whatever.
I don't know.
They also gave me this like little shot glass of something that tasted like liquid death. Apparently that's for reflux. I was allowed to pee before I went into surgery. So if you're having a C-section, you really have to pee beforehand. You're allowed to ask to pee. I did that. Then you got dressed in your like scrub onesie thing. You put it on backwards at first.
You're really gonna, that's what you're gonna put in? Everything else is, no, you're not allowed to say that. You put it on backwards first.
Okay.
See, we make fun of each other. And it's funny.
Then we had to walk to the OR, and there was a little chair outside that they had.
You tripped, right? Oh, wait.
Did I?
We're not gonna tell people that.
Wait, did I trip?
No, you didn't trip.
So you had to sit on a little chair while they took me into the OR, which was crazy. So I like walked in, and it was like, I don't even know.
The chair was so little.
Do you know how many people were in that room? There were so many people.
6.
I don't even know. Like, ORs are very bright and cold and just like overwhelming. There were so many people, and they're like, all right, get up on the table. And I sit on the table, and they're like, put your feet on this stool. So I did that. And they're like, okay, we're gonna give you the spinal now. I was not good at getting the spinal. It took 3 tries. Basically, getting a spinal, you have to be in the perfect position for it to actually work. So you have to like completely bend over as much as you can with your shoulders completely forward, except while you're doing this, you have a giant...
Your baby has to be underneath you.
You have this giant thing in front of you.
They don't
but that wasn't
even
the hardest part. The hardest part is when they're putting it in your spine, so you're like hunched over, you need to push back against them while the needle's going in. So like regularly, if someone's pushing, your reaction is to go this way, not to push against. Yeah. So there was some trouble with that. The doctor really had to like hold me down, but literally the second the spinal went in, it was like go time, and they like flipped me over. I was like like this on the table, and they put the curtain down, and I literally looked at the anesthesiologist who had put the spinal in, and I said, I'm gonna puke. And she quickly grabbed like a thing, and I just started like yakking into this, I don't even know what it was. They waited until I was done barfing though to get Scott. They said though, as I was barfing, that's how we know it's working. So.
I liked your combination of barf and puke word. Bar-Q.
So they got Scott, and I think like the second Scott came back around, they must have started the procedure. Because like I said, my surgery started at 7 a.m. and that baby came out of me at 7:14. Like, it all happened very fast. Why does the note say Daddy sat down and laughed about puke? I don't remember that.
Yeah, you said I puked. You looked over and you went, I puked a lot. And I was like, yeah, I bet.
I don't remember a lot of stuff.
I was like, yeah, I bet.
So basically, I could not feel obviously like the incision happening, but like I had an idea of when they were doing something because I could feel pressure more like in my upper abdomen, like pressure, like, okay, something's going down. And like all of a sudden it was like, Daddy, get your phone ready, stand up. So Daddy got his phone ready and stood up. And do you want to explain that experience? Because I could not explain that experience.
Well, it kind of happened really fast because, as I said, we were just talking about how much you vomited. And all of a sudden, I thought it was gonna. I don't know why I thought it was gonna be a while, but I thought it was gonna be a little longer. And I was just like, stand up, stand up, stand up. And I was kind of trying to make sure that you were okay, but everyone's yelling at me to stand up. So I finally stood up, and luckily I did it the exact right time. And I just didn't know what I was looking at, but I took pictures, and I think I saw something. And then all of a sudden you hear the crying, and it was very emotional. And they said, you can go over. I saw them cut the umbilical cord. I remember that, and I remember like, it's fine. They can cut it. They can cut it. Like,
Well, you mean like cut it from?
They cut it from you,
me.
right?
Yeah.
So then, like they took her to the table, to the what, I don't know what you call it. It's like the infant table, whatever. And then I went over and I was holding her hand, or she was holding my finger, and took pictures there, and I was just crying. And then I remember they did something, and I went back over to check on you, and I sat with you for a second, and you're like, go over with her.
Yeah, I told you because there wasn't anything you were gonna get from sitting next to me.
And then I ran back to her, and that's when I cut the placenta.
Nope.
Not the placenta. I cut the rest of the umbilical, where the nurse told me, or the doctor, I'm not sure if it's a nurse or a doctor, told me to cut a little closer. And I remember she was like, it's very thick, and yeah, it was thick, but it was just it's less. It's less pausing. You okay? She's good. And then just sit at the table with her for. It felt like a long time, and it felt like not no time at all. I remember I think one of the times I walked over to see Phoebe, I was like, I forget if I was like, can I touch her or something? And the one doctor's like, yeah, you can give her the keys to the car, whatever. She's yours. And it was very it was very, very impactful. They said that, and it was very emotional. So then they took her measurement, her full length from toe to from heel, I guess, to head. I don't know.
Toe to heel.
I don't know. I was a little overwhelmed. And then they did circumference. I think they did circumference of the head. I'm not sure. And then they did a couple other measurements. They did temperature, and I don't know. There was a lot of vernix. That's the sticky white stuff. So she's like, it's okay. It's all gonna come off. I remember the one word that I could think of was meconium, and I was like, oh, it's meconium. And as soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, no, that's the poop. And she was like, no, that's the baby's first poop. And I was like, yeah, I know. Just can't think right now. And yeah, so I couldn't think of the word vernix for a week. Yeah, and then I guess we came back and saw you. They're like, okay, we're gonna do skin to skin, and so we took her back over. I don't know. I don't think I carried her.
No.
The
nurse laid her across me this way, and then
we took a family photo.
We did.
Don't forget.
We took a family photo, and I guess at that point they were done putting me back together.
And we wheeled.
You missed it. You were with the baby. They had to take me off the operating table and put me into the hospital bed.
Oh, yeah, I didn't see that.
So basically what happened was, I don't even remember. They basically rolled me on my side, put a board underneath me, flipped me back over, and pulled the board from one bed to the next.
Yep, that sounds about right.
I kind of forgot about it. A lot of that time period's a little fuzzy to me. But yeah, then they put the baby on me and they rolled us back to the room we started in. Okay, so there's a lot that went on in that room. There was the Phoebe half of the room and the mommy half of the room.
They don't weigh the baby until an hour.
So you were more working on the Phoebe side of the room. So you were with Phoebe. And then I was on my side of the room. So a couple of things happened. I think right when they rolled her over, they tried to start breastfeeding immediately. Is that correct? I'm trying to think of the order.
I think so.
Because she was already on my skin.
I think they asked you, you want to breastfeed?
So we initially did start with breastfeeding. That's a whole other experience. No longer doing that. But yes, we did start with breastfeeding. I don't really want to get into that in this video, but technically she did breastfeed when we first got into that room. She got her colostrum, but then they took her over to the other side and worked on her with you. Like, I think they gave her shots.
Yeah, they gave her, it was like 3 shots in her thighs, I remember. She had these little teeny band-aids.
Yeah, the little circle ones. So from what I remember is I was bleeding heavily, and we'll get more into that for day 2, but like my vivid memories of the bleeding from that day is it took 2 nurses, one on each side of me. They would flip me on my side and tell me to hold on to the hospital bed. So I'd have to hold on to the hospital bed, so I was lying forward because they had
I don't know where I was during this.
You were with Phoebe. You were on the Phoebe half. So multiple times they would have to clean everything up. And like when I say clean everything up, I don't mean just the bed. I mean like everything. Everything was just covered in a lot of blood. Yeah, that was an interesting experience. But they would have to do it on both sides. They did it multiple times.
I had Phoebe in it was like this plastic, clear, like rolling cart, and you called it an isolette, but they called it, they're like, this is her stroller and her bassinet and her like all in one, and it had like drawers, and then the drawers had all her diapers and wipes and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So probably after about an hour is when we went from like the recovery area into our actual hospital room. So I was wheeled, and you wheeled Phoebe's little cart.
Yes. Pushed the bell, which sounded throughout, I don't know if it was throughout the hospital.
I think it was just during the maternity ward. Yeah, they have a button where it plays a lullaby every time a baby, I guess, is checked into their room. But I, for some reason, remember like nurses asking how I felt and me replying like I feel like I was just cut in half. But I don't remember being in pain. Like, that's the thing. Like, I remember feeling like, I guess just like weird. Because do you remember me saying like I'm in pain? Like, I don't remember the feeling of pain.
No, I think I specifically asked you like are you how do you feel? And you said, no, I don't feel any pain. And that was a big deal because, you know, that was the biggest fear, was that you're gonna be in so much pain.
So I think before we get into like our experience in our room, like that was our birth story. I don't feel like we had a very like eventful birth story. Like I feel like my experience getting a C-section was very like non-eventful, so to speak. It was not
super easy. Barely an inconvenience.
Yeah.
For us at least.
Yeah, I would say it was not what we expected, for sure. But once we got into
what did you expect?
I don't know. I've had a surgery before, and it was a lot more traumatic than that. When we got to our room, we were given like the menu for the hospital food, which Scott was allowed to eat. I guess they make it complimentary right now for the dads because of COVID, so you got to eat 3 meals a day. But what I did find out, which I didn't really know, was I was going to be on a liquid diet right after. So I had vegetable broth, water ice, and coffee. I was so happy to have coffee. So happy.
Yep.
But we were in the room for a while before any of the nurses really let me stand up. I think they had to take the catheter out before I could stand because they wanted me to stand and start moving and then go to the bathroom for the first time. So I stood up for the first time a couple hours after surgery. It was probably mid-afternoon.
Sounds right.
I didn't really have any trouble standing up. I was able to pretty much do it myself.
Yeah, I remember being shocked how quickly you stood up, and I was like, oh my god, this is awesome. We're leaving tonight. No, I'm kidding.
And then I went and sat on a chair for a while, and it's funny, like right when the nurses left, I looked at Scott, and I was like... I'm gonna puke. And there was like the button. There was the button.
Yeah, and because they just left. Yeah. They like the door clicked closed. It's to be fair, it's a slow closed door. So I don't know how far I don't know which way they went and whatever, and I don't know the hospital. So I was like, should I go and run after them? Like I legit was like, I don't know. Just like shout help in a hospital.
But he wasn't allowed to leave the room, so he clicked the button and said like she's gonna vomit, and someone came with like a thing for me to vomit in. I vomited more then than I did.
It was a big tub. And and you filled the tub. It was like this big,
Yeah, I won't go into
like a
detail. I
Tupperware.
was on a liquid diet at least, so.
Yeah. Had you eaten at that point?
Yeah, it was
You
the
think
color
you
of the water ice.
Okay.
You
Oh,
didn't
right.
I don't know if you really saw it.
I didn't see it.
But,
No, I stayed away. I was with Phoebe.
They did have me, like, they did make sure, like, I was able to, like, pee. I had to, like, pee into this, like, basin so that they could make sure I was peeing. As of day one, I feel like it wasn't super eventful. I feel like just, like, that was the day, like, she was born. So the next morning, the doctor did come in to see me, and he had told me, like, you lost a lot of blood because in the middle of the night they do your vitals like all day and night. Like I was like a prod to be poked.
Every like couple hours, the good nurses will put like a schedule down.
Not all the nurses are the good nurses.
They'll put a schedule down and tell you like when they're gonna come in, so you can kind of look at it and say, okay, they're coming in at 9 p.m. Then they're coming in at 1 a.m. Then they're coming in at 3 a.m. That kind of thing. So it's nice to be able to see.
My point being, they had taken my blood to see if I was anemic at that point, and I was. My hemoglobin was 6.5, and apparently if it had been 6, I would have needed a blood transfusion. So they were very carefully monitoring me to see if I needed a blood transfusion. But by that day, they had okayed me to take a shower. And I feel like this was maybe one of the worst decisions I made while at the hospital, was taking that shower, because so many like birth stories, I feel like people had talked about like how the shower after was so amazing, but I feel like that specifically was for people who have vaginal births.
Yep.
As somebody who had lost a lot of blood, being in a hot enclosed area was not the greatest thing. Plus the shower is very tiny with high water pressure.
Yeah.
So like I couldn't really turn around because I didn't want my wound directly in this like really high water pressure, and the water was so hot. Like I could not get it to even like a warm temperature. It was so hot. So it was just bad. And like it wasn't until we got home from the hospital that I had like that shower that you hear about. That's for sure. Honestly, like overall, our stay at the hospital was too long in our opinion, considering it was COVID, and he couldn't leave the room. We were just trapped, constantly people coming in and out. We didn't have the greatest like experience with like breastfeeding in the hospital.
Which we'll get into in another video.
Yeah, we're not doing that in this video. It just, we got in on a Monday morning and we were out by Thursday morning. They would have let us stay through Friday,
yeah.
But we wanted to get out as soon as possible. We wanted to get her home. We wanted like our freedom. We wanted to breathe. We didn't want to have people coming in.
Tuesday night, and I had a kind of...
I had a breakdown Tuesday night. And
I
was like, I need to get out of here. I felt so
let's
trapped.
make the decision tomorrow afternoon. I said, let's have lunch here tomorrow, and then, you know, if we really want to leave, then we'll leave. And they had said they wanted to wait until at least Thursday morning, and...
Thursday morning, our bags were packed.
Yeah, I don't know that we could have left any earlier Thursday morning.
Yeah, we were home before noon on Thursday. Yeah. And, like, just, like, simple things like that we thought, like, I thought, like, driving home with her for the first time, I was going to be like, don't go the speed limit, go slower, go slower. And I was like, get off the road! Like, go!
Why are you going so slow? Go.
Yeah, that was another thing. They did not check our car seats at the hospital, and I thought that was going to happen, and that was very stressful because we basically had to... I was basically pushed out the door in my wheelchair with the baby in my arms. He was in the car, pulled up, and it was like, get up. But I didn't have ab muscles, and I didn't have hands to push myself up on. So, like, I had to, like, get myself out, and, like, we couldn't figure out how to get her in the car seat, and we literally had to, like, drive to a parking spot and like watch a YouTube video about how to properly put her in the car seat. Because of COVID, he could not go out to the car and bring the car seat into the hospital. It was ridiculous. Don't have a baby during a pandemic. Anyway, we have questions to answer that were asked by people. The first question is, how are you feeling now compared to 1 week postpartum? I will say that my first full week postpartum, our first week kind of home, I felt great.
Yeah, you felt
like
amazing.
I kept being like told in the hospital, like, you've had major abdominal surgery. You need to
abdominal surgery.
But something about after week 1, it gets worse. It's nothing compared to pregnancy. Let me be very clear. I am much more comfortable today than I was being pregnant. But the actual incision, I think as it's healing, it's a lot more painful. And for me, sleeping is really bad. I can't move in my sleep, and it's very hard for me to get in and out of bed. Not in, out. Getting out of bed is like nearly impossible. Like if I'm lying down, I'm basically stuck because I, again, have no ab muscles. It hurts, but it's like I had knee surgery, and that was like 3,000 times worse than this, I would say. So I'm just waiting to heal. Next is, what was the scariest thing about birth? I'm 36 weeks and I'm so ready, but also scared.
Oh my god, she might have had her baby already.
True.
By the time this goes up.
So it's hard for us to answer this, I feel like, because we did a C-section. But I think for us, the scariest part was like the surgery aspect, not knowing how that was gonna go.
Yeah.
I kind of trusted that the doctors knew what they were doing, but I didn't know how, like, I didn't know what it was going to be like because of my experience having knee surgery, and the recovery from that was so horrible that I was like, abdominal surgery has to be like 1,000,000 times worse than that, which it is not at all, for me at least. What was the scariest? What, do you agree? Do you have a different
What was the
scary?
question? What was the scariest part?
What was the scariest thing about birth?
Yeah, it's all the lead up and the what ifs, and you read too much and listen to stories, and that's why we stopped having you listen to. I
couldn't watch birth stories while I was pregnant. Like I could watch them before, and I had you watching them more carefully because I wanted you to be prepared for the worst.
And yeah, you can't really prepare. It's everyone's different, and your story's gonna be different. Oh.
How was the hospital food? Was Scott able to get enough food? I know you weren't sure he'd be able to.
Yeah, that was easy. They told you on the 31st that
we did
on that appointment that bring a lot of snacks, but I can get food with you.
Now, how was the food?
Yeah,
I would put it average. Like some things are better than other things. It's
hospital food.
Tastes like cafeteria food. It could have been a lot worse, but like it was not a gourmet meal for sure. Does the baby look like Scott or you?
Well, I think the baby looks a lot more like you.
It's really hard to tell. That's
kind of what we determined.
She definitely looks similar to my baby pictures, but it's hard to tell. She's still so little.
Yeah. A lot of people, I mean, they're like, yeah, it looks like Scott. It looks like Rachel. It looks like...
I don't think we're going to know for a while who she really looks like. It's hard to tell. How did the hospital keep you all safe? Like trapping in a room? Like I said, like I had a rapid COVID test when we first got there. Yeah, we basically couldn't leave. Everyone had to wear masks. Anytime a nurse came in, we put our masks on. I had to wear a mask in the OR. I mean, lots of masks.
We felt very safe. At least I felt very safe.
I didn't feel worried at all.
Yeah, I was totally fine.
Were you surprised by anything the day you gave birth?
Just like the emotions that we were gonna feel. I mean, I'd always known that I was gonna be very emotional, and it's just you can't put into words the feelings that you get once you see your little person the first time. And I'm gonna get emotional now, but and even the days after, I don't know if you can hear her. The days after, you just feel like this overwhelming emotion that I think it's kind of like leveled out, so to speak. That
first week was,
I'm able to sort of manage it right now. definitely feel all the feelings. So yeah, the emotions, but you know, they're in control now.
Like, I remember before we had her, I didn't like. No, I'm not a very emotional person like you, and I remember saying to you, like, how can I love something else as much as I love our cats?
You did not just say that.
I did. Well, apparently it's possible.
Yeah. You just the only thing I can say is that is the most. That's you can't prepare for that. It's the most unexpected, and it's expect the unexpected. I don't know. That's it. It's just love is love.
And I would say, as far as the question was,
it's normal, is what I'll say. That's the only way. Is just know that it's normal.
Yeah. And just like, were you surprised by anything that day? I think overall, like, our experience with the C-section and like how fast it went and like how fine I felt that day, and I just think overall, like, we did not expect that day to go that smoothly, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, everything just seemed to go
She was
well.
just so perfect, and just every single time doctors would come in, no bias.
Also,
every
side
time
note,
doctors and nurses come in, oh my gosh, she's so perfect. And
all those vlogs of me saying there was a baby killing my ribs, every nurse would comment how strong her legs are.
Yes, there was. One of the nurses had to do something with her foot. They had to like prick her foot. I don't know. It was intense, and Phoebe wasn't having it. And she said, "Daddy, I need you to come over here and
6-pound baby,
hold her down for me."
6-pound baby.
I got up and I was like, "Yep, over right there." And she's like, "Oh gosh, she's so strong." And yeah, it was a couple other times where people were completely unprovoked. We would like stare at each other when she was giving them a little trouble, and sure enough, every single time without fail, they're like, "Oh, she's so strong. Like completely unprovoked. And we're like, "What?" Okay.
So I wasn't lying all those months. Did it go smoothly? I feel like we answered that. Did they use staples? Did they use staples or melt-away stitches on you?
Just found out today.
Yeah, so I think they used the melt-away stuff because I did go in for my 2-week checkup today, and yeah, the physician's assistant did say that the glue might start wearing off and that I can work with it, and I don't know how much I want to do that. But it is funny because in the hospital I could never actually see my incision because there was only one mirror in our room, and it was like at like eye height, so I couldn't even like see my incision until we got home because there was still like a bump. And I can't really see it now unless I like lift my skin a little. But yeah, they said everything's fine today. But yeah, it is the melt away, which I'm kind of glad about because my mom said like she had to get the staples removed, and as somebody who's had stitches removed, I'm not the best candidate.
What was your favorite part when the nurses came in to examine the when they pushed on you and you went
Okay, that was only the day of the C-section.
No, I feel like they did it like every single time they came in.
No, the pain. When I made that sound, it was the day of the C-section when they were feeling to see. They were feeling for the uterus. They were feeling to see if the uterus.
But what did I think it was?
Scott thought they were doing something very different when they would push on my abdomen. Do you want to share what you thought they were doing?
Well, I thought they were checking for holes. Like push, and then like square.
Yeah. So. That's something I learned when we got home from the hospital.
There weren't any leaks.
Okay, so the next question is, how did you feel when you finally got to hold her in your arms for the first time?
I kind of just said that, but...
I don't think we talked about holding her. I think, for me, I was on an operating table, and I was very just, like, overstimulated.
Really
I was in a very overstimulated experience, so, like, my emotions and reactions were a little delayed behind yours, because not only was I in the middle of a surgery and like completely like what the heck is going on the whole time, but like I was extremely drugged up, so like my mind wasn't all there either. But I feel like for you, like, was the first time you physically held her in your arms in the OR, or not until we got to the recovery room?
Not until we got to the recovery room, and they had done I'm not sure if they weighed her, gave her shots, or I think they gave her, they like immediately, pretty much immediately, like gave her shots and stuff, and Did they? Or maybe it wasn't until after an hour when she got weighed. I'm forgetting the timeline, but it was. I remember they got her all wrapped up and everything, and they're like, here's it, and they're going over everything. Here's the drawer and this, and you got to do this, and here's how you spot it, and put this, and do this, and snap, and blah blah blah. And they're like, okay, do you want to hold her? And I was like, yeah, I want to hold her. And I mean, I don't really remember like the first time, but I was crying and just like. I was like, look, this is our baby. And I'm not sure if you you had nurses and it was just me and her. And I just remember like, I'm never going to put her down. Obviously, I've eventually put her down. But, but yeah, I will say, I don't remember the first time actually holding her, but I vividly, definitely remember the first time when she was holding my finger. And yeah. Oh.
You both are obviously in love with the baby. What did you not expect? So I guess like what happened that we did not expect? I think just the overall like how emotional I got, but I didn't really get emotional until we brought her home.
Yeah.
So like you got emotional in the hospital,
yeah,
but I didn't get emotional until we like physically had her at home. And I think because for me at the hospital, I felt like I was just like a science experiment the whole time, and I was constantly on edge, like
you kept
very
saying
stressed
that.
out.
Like I just want to dress her in her own clothes, and I want to
just have her in our comfortable environment.
Like I want to drink coffee and get our own food, and
not have someone walking in the door every 5 seconds.
Someone walking in the door every 5 seconds, and get into a routine. Although we still do not have a routine.
No.
Which is okay. I'm told. I don't know. And just like I guess we already said like the overwhelming love, and the feeling of love. Anything else?
Yeah. How did you pick her name? I love it, by the way. So like, there's like no real exciting story behind Phoebe Luna. I had kind of texted you one day like, what do you think of the name Phoebe? Somehow you had come up with Luna.
Did I?
Yeah. You were like talking about the moon or something, and you were like Luna, and I was like, I like that name.
I think because I kept going, and I don't think you think this is true, but I kept going off of like letters of my aunt had just passed away, and your uncle had just passed away, and I kept going off of letters of those, and we finally found one that were like. I guess I should you listen. You're like, yeah, I like that one. And I said that's perfect because
you said something about the moon. Like I have this memory of you talking about the moon, and then
I think I might have joked about the moon.
If anyone's picked up, that's why the end of the advent calendar was a moon necklace. Anyway,
full circle. Well, half moon, full circle.
But yeah. Like, as far as Phoebe goes, like, I literally randomly texted you one day. And I think one of our big things was, like, her last name, Mermelstein, is long. So I wanted it to be, like, very rhythmic. Mermelstein.
That was one of the...
And I wanted the middle name to end in a vowel, so it wasn't going, like, consonant into Mermelstein.
Yep.
So, like, I don't know. I just thought it was a really cute
even
name.
Scott Mermelstein. Phoebe Mermelstein.
Yeah, I wanted 2 syllables, and then I liked also the nickname Phoebes. I thought that was cute. So,
yeah, that was killer. Yeah.
So it's nothing like really deep. Congratulations. How are you feeling? How is Phoebe? I am fine. I mean, my abdomen is pretty sore, but overall I'm fine. Phoebe is very good. We're still trying to figure out how to take care of a newborn. This is an experiment, what we're doing right here.
This is probably the longest either of us, except for like the first couple of nights, we were able to get a lot of sleep. She would sleep like she was out. When we first came home, we would get like 3 to 4 hours at a time, and it would be a clockwork. It'd be like feed, sleep, wake up, feed, sleep, wake up, and we were like, this is amazing, oh my god. And so now,
not like that
2 weeks
anymore.
later, we're like,
struggling.
We had to make adjustments and we're constantly. This is the first time. That's what I was trying to say. This is the first time the longest that either of us have been away.
So we have like a travel bassinet basically, and right now we have her sitting in the travel bassinet on the other side of the room with her sound machine, and I think we've paused this video 13 times already.
Yeah, to get up and put the pacifier back in, or just hold her for a second, or yell at the cats, or
Yeah, it's an experience. We have 2 more questions. I would love to hear how you and Scott handled the begging of your labor. Were you nervous or excited? So I didn't go.
The beginning?
I think like me in labor, but I didn't go into labor, so
yeah.
He didn't have to deal with me in labor, which I think he appreciates.
Very much, yeah. if given the choice, go C-section.
But yeah, I would say we were both nervous and excited, though, very much so. Very 50-50 with the nerves and excitement. And then our last question is, how have your emotions been? Are you feeling okay? Hopefully you have been good. Hormones can be all over the place after having a baby. Also, was Scott brave enough to cut the cord? I bet he was. So we did say he cut the cord. Hormones are going strong. I will say that my daily crying has gone down. Like, I haven't really cried the last 2 days, which has been great. Definitely, it can be very overwhelming and scary and high intensity, and you know, like, she's so tiny. Like, literally, she is the tiniest baby I've ever held in my life. Like, every family member that we have had meet her has literally, like, been like, oh my god, she's so small. She looks so much bigger in pictures, we've been told. She's very tiny, so, like, she's very fragile. Don't want to hurt her.
I mean, I don't know if you want to put this in the video or not, but I remember I would FaceTime people every couple of hours in the hospital, and I was just so excited to just show her off to everyone. And even when we got home, we had, I kind of had a joke that I was filling up her calendar, like, oh, she's busy. Every single day she has someone coming to meet her and family. But also,
like, having to do all this during the pandemic is a very also stressful thing on top of it, because you do have to have people quarantining before they can meet her, and we do have some people meeting her outside with face masks on versus who's allowed in the house, and like, even on top of that, it's a little overwhelming. You don't realize handing someone else your newborn baby.
The idea of being able to share her was, I was like, oh yeah, I'm so excited that, you know, you get to see her and you get to hold her, and she's so little and she's so cute and she's perfect and we love her and everything. Here you go. And then, like, as soon as you kind of give her away, and that person holding her, it's like, you know,
you're just like,
you get like more antsy, and
I have found that
it's difficult.
Having people hold her is more stressful than relaxing. And I'm sure that is something that will pass with time, especially as she gets bigger and less fragile. But it is.
I guess admitting that it's a thing, though, may or may not help.
I don't think it's something we anticipated, for sure. Yeah. We just, like, expected, like, yeah, it's our family. Like, they obviously have grown babies. We're too a lot of humans. But yeah, it's a little bit nerve-wracking having someone else hold your child, and you just feel a little on edge staring at them like, what are you gonna do?
Sit down. No, you don't need to stand up. No, you're fine. You can sit.
Stay level.
I think only your mom has stood up with her.
Yeah. But that was the last question.
There's plenty of pictures on her on Instagram.
There are lots of pictures. I have a whole Phoebe highlight on my Instagram account.
I do too. If you want to see her.
I do plan on making, like, videos about we obviously have a lot of products. I'm probably going to wait till after she's 3 months to make a video about what has really helped us in the newborn phase, but I definitely... Yeah,
because right now I have a lot of opinions about a lot of different products, but it's only been...
things are going to change. And then I also have found certain things that I prefer for my postpartum recovery, and I feel like a lot of videos I watched about postpartum essentials were for vaginal births, and I found...
You don't know until, like, we only knew 5 days, what is it, 5 days leading up? Yeah, so you already have all this stuff.
Yeah, there are certain things that have been a little bit more beneficial to me than I expected, and someday that video will come up. I've also pre-filmed 6 videos while pregnant that I still have to edit and upload, so there's that. Yeah, so you'll still see pregnant Rachel eventually in at least 6 videos. I don't know when I'm going to feel ready to start vlogging again. Right now, I feel a little too chaotic, especially with him going back to work in a couple of days. Life's a little too chaotic right now for me personally to handle vlogging when, like, this is an experiment of getting her to be able to just, like, sit on the side of a room while we are doing things. I hope this was everything you wanted and hoped for. I feel like we didn't have the most exciting birth experience. Like, it was very just like everything went right, which is very much something we're very grateful for, I would say. Everything's great with her. She had her 2-week doctor's appointment this week. She's growing well, so she's now almost 7 pounds 2 ounces, just a little under. She's still tiny. She's still in her newborn clothes. She definitely has grown
Newborn
now.
diapers.
She's definitely grown because the clothes were swimming on her when we first brought her home, which, you know, another reason we were having issues with the breastfeeding.
That's all. Let's go hold our baby.
All right, as usual, thanks for stopping by my channel. If you're new here, click the subscribe button and ring that bell for notifications. I have my Twitter and my Instagram down below. Give them a follow, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.
This is how you ring a bell.